We've seen some shows lately with the NFL on Netflix. We had quarterback last year. We had receiver this year. These shows highlight some of the most important positions on the football field. How about next year we do a show called Uber Driver? Because that seems like a pretty important position at this rate. Welcome everybody to JG Night News, where we talk all things NFL all the time. I'm Jared Garanai, representing the 904 from the 602, and today we are talking about the wide receiver that plays for this team behind me right here, Jordan Addison, last year's first-round pick out of USC, who had a very solid season for the Vikings on the field, nearly 1,000 yards receiving, but off the field, the man was plagued with issues. Last year, he pled guilty to speeding after going 140 miles per hour in a 55. And look, I've sped before. We've all sped before. But I can safely say my car has never touched 100. And I can safely say that I've never gone 85 miles over the speed limit and endangered the lives of others. So there was that incident last year. And this year, there's another incident with Jordan Addison with this absolute moron who just doesn't get it and understand that a car is a 2-ton weapon, because he continues to treat it like a toy. Because what happened earlier this week was that Jordan Addison was arrested for a probable DUI. This according to the Los Angeles Daily News on Friday night at 11:06 p.m., so we're talking July 12th, California Highway Patrol officers were dispatched to report a disabled vehicle was blocking lanes on a freeway, and according to the report, it was Jordan Addison's car, a white Rolls Royce, who was blocking the lane of a freeway with the driver asleep at the wheel. So in all likelihood, they didn't release the BAC, they didn't release the reports on the DUI investigation, but in all likelihood, this is a DUI. Now, like I said last year, he endangered the lives of others by going 140 in a 55. He said that was because of an emergency to his dog. We just took that at face value. But you know what? You lose the benefit of the doubt after that one. You lose the benefit of the doubt. It's like that kid at school who says to the teacher, "Oh no, I didn't cheat on the exam. How could I cheat? My eyes just wander like that." And then a few exams later, that kid gets caught trying to look up the answers on his phone. You lost the benefit of the doubt. And the fact that you refuse to take accountability for your actions after last year, blaming your dog being sick, especially after this, is absolutely shameful. This is a young, immature idiot who just doesn't get it and has no business being behind the wheel of a car. And especially after this, a DUI in today's day and age, with all the money you have, you can get an Uber driver, you can get a Lyft, you can get anything. To have the audacity to do this as a Minnesota Viking after your teammate just died because of a drunk driver is deplorable and disgusting. Not even a week ago, Tyree Jackson, may the man rest in peace, the 4th-round pick that the Vikings had at cornerback, died because of a drunk driver. He was an innocent passenger in all this. And for you to then commit an act of drunk driving, you would think that would be a wake-up call, but apparently not. Apparently in your pea-sized brain, it is not a wake-up call. That's like if you think it's cool to drop rocks on a bridge on incoming cars, one of your friends dies as a result of this, and then a week later, you're doing exactly that. Like, grow up, man. You do not deserve to be playing in the NFL at that rate. You need a lot of growing up. If this was a DUI and you were drinking behind the wheel, especially after what happened last year, and especially after what happened to your teammate, then you need to grow up. That's what it comes down to. But what I want to talk about with this video, because at the end of the day, we all know DUIs are bad. You should not be drinking and driving. You should not be behind the wheel if you are under the influence of alcohol. If you are over the BAC limit, you should not be behind the wheel. But what I want to talk about is what a lot of people are not really bringing up just yet. What does this mean for Jordan Addison from a suspension standpoint? Because there is no way, if this is a DUI, that this is going to go unchecked by the league. He is not going to play all 17 games this year. I'd be very, very surprised based on the NFL's own policy. We have to go to the NFL Policy and Program on Substances of Abuse, Section 2.2, which talks about violations of the law involving alcohol. And you can read it right here. It says, the commissioner will review and may impose a fine, suspension, or other appropriate discipline if a player is convicted of or admits to a violation of the law relating to the use of alcohol. Absent aggravating circumstances, discipline for a first offense will be a suspension without pay for 3 regular season games. Now, that is important. The word will, not may, not could start at, will. That means it will happen. It is guaranteed to happen. If a player is arrested and he commits a violation of the law for a DUI, it is a minimum of 3 games for the first offense. So that's pretty clear cut and dry. At minimum, Jordan Addison will be suspended for 3 games. Now, there could be more, because we go to the second part. If the commissioner finds that there were aggravating circumstances, including but not limited to felonious conduct, extreme intoxication, so a BAC of 0.15 or more, property damage or serious injury or death to the player or a third party, that didn't happen here, and or if the player had prior drug or alcohol-related misconduct, increased discipline may be imposed. So what's interesting about the language here, what could constitute aggravating circumstances? Basically anything, including but not limited to, is the catch-all phrase that allows Commissioner Roger Goodell to basically do whatever he wants and impose whatever punishment he sees fit. That is not an all-inclusive list. Anything could be an aggravating circumstance. It's very, very broad language. What that means is that the speeding incident from last year, even though there was no alcohol involved in that, could come into play as an aggravated circumstance. Another thing that could come into play, lack of remorse. Because you know what Jordan Addison did earlier on Sunday? That's right. He posted on his Instagram story a picture of alcohol. You can't make this up. A day after he gets arrested for a possible DUI, in all likelihood, he was asleep at the wheel blocking a lane of traffic. In all likelihood, that's a DUI. In all likelihood, he was intoxicated. He then posts a picture of alcohol. That could come into play. Now, what this means is that, again, minimum 3 games, but it could be more. Now, if there is a suspension longer than 3 games, Jordan Addison could easily appeal by saying, hey, wait a second. In 2010, Vincent Jackson, under your watch, the wide receiver, also may he rest in peace, got suspended 3 games for his second offense, and this here is my first offense. Now, I'm not sure how well that appeal is going to go, since that was Vincent Jackson's second offense in a 5-year stretch, and this would be Addison's second in a 2-year stretch if we count the speeding. So it is a bit tricky there, but that may be the most analogous comparison by far. My educated guess, though, the first offense is 3 games, a second offense is 8 games. Because of the speeding last year, and again, it wasn't just speeding. It wasn't like he did 80 in a 55. He did 140 in a 55. Because of the speeding last year, my guess is that they'll split the difference and they'll do it at 5 games. Addison appeals and gets dropped down to 4. But at minimum, based on the rule and the language in the NFL policy and program on substances and abuse, you're looking at a minimum of a 3-game suspension for Jordan Addison if this is a DUI. In all likelihood, it is a DUI. And again, if there is a BAC of 0.15 or higher, they have not released anything yet, but if there is a BAC of 0.15 or higher, it could be more than that. And based on the speeding thing, that's where it's going to get really, really tricky in terms of where the suspension is going to be. It's not just clear cut and dry 3 games. It's minimum 3 games, but it could be a bit more than that as well. But what are your thoughts on Jordan Addison? How do you think he's going to do in 2024 for the Minnesota Vikings? How many games do you think he's going to play? What do you think his suspension is going to be? What do you think it should be? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. And that is going to do it for this episode of JJ9 News. Be sure you like and subscribe. It helps the channel out a lot. And be sure to check out my main channel, JaguarGamer9, where we talk all things NFL history all the time. Until next time, this is JaguarGamer9 signing off. And as always, go Jags.